Joining us right now is Dr. Tony Coles. He's the co-chair of the Black Economic Alliance and CEO and executive chairman of Cerevel Therapeutics. He also serves as on the boards of McKesson and Regeneron. Also, Charles Phillips is here. It's like all-star cast. Co-founder and managing partner of investment firm Recognized. Good morning to both of you. You guys put together, or really I should say commissioned, Harris to do a poll for you about this issue specifically, especially at a time where I think questions about DEI, about all sorts of other social issues in the context of business have become a target, if you will. And the results, I think, are surprising. At least were surprising to me, given a lot of the rhetoric, at least we hear.
Yeah. Well, what the poll showed, and this was done by the BEA Foundation, is that about 78% of Americans support companies taking active steps to ensure that the employee population reflects diversity. Now, we know that there's a lot of data to suggest that business benefits from diversity, and diversity really matters. What we know is that there's a 35% better chance of outperforming financially when you have top quartile diversity. Companies that actually have diverse management teams and diverse employee bases have about a 78% improvement in innovation-related revenue as measured by new products and new services. So when I started as a junior executive 30 years ago, we didn't have these data. Diversity was just a good thing to do. Now we've got hard, concrete data, and our polls suggest that Americans support and understand the value in driving innovation and business.
Do you think that this issue has gotten tied up, caught up, or do you think it is in the context of the word woke? Because a lot of people, I think, have now put this in the same bucket.
That's why when we did the poll, we didn't want to use the term DEI or woke or any of those things, just asking about ethnicity and diversity. And what the surprise to me was 74% of Republicans thought that corporate America should reflect the demographics of the country, and 81% of white Americans. So I expect the Democrats and other groups to do that, but it's consistent across. However you cut the data, everybody wants the same thing.
Right. And what do you think, though, now that you've looked at this poll, what do you think that the poll is suggesting that the public wants companies to do? And I also ask that in the context, by the way, we now have had new conversations given the Supreme Court around legacy admissions at universities. I think there's a whole view that that may come to corporate America very soon if it hasn't already. Put that in some kind of context for us.
There was something really interesting about the poll results, which I do think surprised people. So we know that 78% of Americans support companies taking active steps. So they want to see programming, initiatives that actually diversify the employee base, address the customer needs, and improve the understanding of customers. And they all get that that tracks to innovation. But what was interesting is that these findings actually held up across generation and age lines, racial and ethnic lines, and party affiliation, with at least 2/3 of the respondents, independent of party affiliation, believing that diversity is actually a very good thing.
The board is the way to go. I was just thinking about that. And I think about still it's very rare in the S&P 500 a black CEO or a person of color as a CEO. You can't do it until it's chicken and egg thing. I think you got to do the boards first. Then the selection process becomes more.
Except that the weird math on that, it's very...
How else would you do it? You can't...
No, but the weird math is that you actually can look at some of the most diverse forces in America. It's not like a causal thing. It's right?
Well, that goes back to the original funnel of hiring to begin with. If you're not hiring diverse people on day one, you're not going to get that 20 years later. You're not going to have that. The interesting thing in the data, though, was when you ask people what percentage of the Fortune 500 CEOs were black, they thought it was like 19 to 20%. Not even close to that. No. That's like 2%.
Right. It's like